Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm doing the Buddy Read tag. So today is actually my 3rd anniversary on BookTube, and each year I try to celebrate my anniversary on BookTube by doing some shout outs of other channels that I love watching. And this year I thought that I might as well combine that with the Buddy Read tag because I've been tagged by a couple of people, and this is a perfect opportunity to shout out channels that I have buddy read with this year. So this tag was originally created by Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse, and I was tagged by both Kazen Always Doing as well as Rachel Kalanadi. So I'm going to go ahead and answer the tag questions, and then at the end of the tag where it says to tag other people, I'm going to tag as well as tell you all about and do shout outs for all of the BookTube channels that are still active that I have buddy read with this year. Question 1, accountability. Do you like buddy reads? I love buddy reads. Buddy reads are one of my favorite things to do. In general on BookTube, I love to hear other people share their thoughts about books. I love to share my thoughts. I love to interact in the comments. But buddy reads are something special because you get to interact as you're reading it and in a lot more depth and with spoilers. So buddy reads are just so much fun. This year, I think I went a little bit overboard. I signed up for way too many buddy reads. I ended up having 34 buddy reads this year, although I did DNF 12 of the books that I picked up. That's like 35%, which is pretty high. I do DNF a lot, and including for buddy reads, but even so, I still did a lot of really great buddy reads with so many different wonderful people and just so many great books that I gave a try to because I made plans to read them with somebody. And a lot of them, I had a much deeper understanding of what I was reading or just different views on it because of the buddy read. So I really love buddy reading, although maybe I should not do quite so many in a single year. Question 2, sharing. Is there an ideal sized group for buddy reads? For me, one-on-one is the ideal type of buddy read. Even though group reads can be really interesting because you have a ton of different opinions, I find that it's really hard to coordinate and also kind of hard to make sure that everybody is getting a chance to share. On one-on-one buddy reads, it is just you and the other person sharing all of your thoughts. You can modify your schedule based on whatever the other person needs, and it's just so good to have that kind of in-depth conversation as well as connection. Definitely buddy reads that are one-on-one feel really intimate and really personal, so that's my favorite size. Question 3, duration. Are shorter or longer works better for buddy reads? So I especially like reading longer works for buddy reads. Shorter works you tend to not have as much to say. Longer works you get to check in a lot and have a lot of different thoughts. What I have found is that I especially love doing buddy reads for big anthologies of short story collections. So I've done this with quite a few different people, but one of my favorites was a very long buddy read, about 4 months long, that I did with Becca at Read Becca, who I will link below, this year. And we buddy read a very large short story anthology where we just read 2 stories a week and checked in every weekend. And that was just a very low-key, very long buddy read, and it was really wonderful, so I loved that. Question 4, community. There are many types of readers. Share a meeting of minds. There are a bunch of BookTube friends that I have who have really similar tastes to me, but I think the most similar is probably Cynthia at Book Whimsy. Every time we have a conversation about a book, or every time we see each other read books, we think, oh yeah, I have that same thought. We just have such the same kind of wavelength that we're on, and often our TBRs are heavily influenced by what the other is reading. I have read quite a few different books together with Cynthia, and I always just totally get what she's saying. It's not that we're 100% the same, like she tends to like things with a bit more plot, and she can handle more drama than I can, but even so, just I really feel like I get Cynthia. We've also done quite a few discussion videos together, so I'll link those below. We did a discussion of Signs Preceding the End of the World as well as Not That Bad, both of which we buddy read together, and then we just had so much to say through our conversation as a buddy read that we thought, hey, let's just make this a video. So Cynthia is definitely very much somebody that I get. Question 5, perspectives. There are many types of readers. Share a difference in perspective. So there are a bunch of people who have a different kind of style from me or different taste, but I think one that really stands out to me is Kristen at Kristinelle SFF Reader. Kristen and I both have really, really similar worldviews. Like, we have very similar values. We also have very similar interests in terms of both of us are reading a ton of SFF and paying attention to a lot of the new releases and the discussions that are happening, but our taste is actually so different. There's so many times when I give something 4 stars or 5 stars and Kristen is like, this was such a dull book. Or she gives something 4 or 5 stars and I say, whoa, that was just too action filled, or, you know, something that I didn't like. So there's so many different times when we've got really kind of polar opposite views on books, even though, like, as people, I think there's a ton of similarity between what we value. And so I think both of us get such amusement out of the fact that we have really widely varying taste, but I still love watching all of her videos, love buddy reading with her, and just find it really valuable to hear what she has to say. Question 6, challenges. Share a private or public challenge to read out of your comfort zone. So a buddy read that I did recently, because I wanted a buddy in order to explore something outside of my comfort zone, was a buddy read I did with Alicia at the Pretty Brown Eye Reader of The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. So I've been wanting to read Toni Morrison for years, but I've been so intimidated by her works because everything that I've heard about them is that they are very literary and also very heavy in terms of the kind of emotions and the topics. And so I've wanted to, but I've just been intimidated. And I was sharing that with Alicia and she said, hey, do you want to buddy read Toni Morrison? I'm happy to, you know, reread some of the ones that I love with you. And so we buddy read The Bluest Eye, and I was so glad to have her as a buddy reading partner. One, because I think she just does a great job of literary analysis. She reads a lot of poetry, and so, you know, very good at reading in between the lines and understanding the depths of works. And she just is familiar with Morrison's work and was able to kind of like unpack a lot of the layers. There were a lot of really deep kind of layers to this story, lots of beautiful writing, lots of great meaning, but it was also just as heavy as I expected. So it was so helpful to have a buddy for that. Question 7, events. What is your favorite reading event and why? So there are a ton of readathons that I love participating in, but my favorite reading event is probably Jólabókaflóð. So Jólabókaflóð is something that I heard about a few years ago, and I'm going to link a website about it below, that is the Christmas book flood in Iceland. So basically Iceland has a huge kind of love of books and publishing and all of these sorts of things, and it's very common for people to give each other books on Christmas and then spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day just reading together. And when my husband Sush and I heard about that, we thought that is just so great, and we decided to do it. But we do it on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because often with Christmas we're spending with family, but New Year's, you know, we're not the type to go out to a party, or I don't like staying up till midnight or any of these sorts of things. But the idea of just bringing in the new year by reading books together is wonderful. So we try to do this every Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, where we just read next to each other, read out loud to each other, and just kind of celebrate reading books. It is just my favorite event. Question 8, can't stop. A booktuber you have read the most with. So I've only kept track of my buddy reads for the past 2 years, but in those 2 years, the person that I have read the most with, unless my accounting is wrong, is Rachel at Kalanadi. We have buddy read 6 books together, and I love buddy reading with Rachel. Not only just does Rachel have really interesting taste in books, but she always has such interesting things to say. I really love getting the chance to discuss stuff with her. We've buddy read a bunch of short story collections too, which is just a favorite thing of mine. And I just love hearing what she has to say and getting to explore ideas with her. We've also read some nonfiction together. It's just a ton of fun, and I suspect we'll do quite a few more as well. Question 9, won't stop. A booktuber you haven't but want to buddy read with. So in January, Emma at the Overstuffed Shelf and I have plans to buddy read Laziness Does Not Exist by Devon Price together. This is going to be our first buddy read, and I'm really looking forward to it. Emma is such a cool person. I just love her energy and her channel. She has recently graduated from a PhD program, and she just moved across the country, but she does great vlogs, and she reads such cool books. She loves nonfiction essay collections, and I'm just really excited to read this book, especially because laziness does not exist as kind of saying, hey, like, let's not fall into this trap that we have to be productive all the time. And we both loved the idea of picking that up in January, when normally, you know, you feel this urge to start making all of these New Year's resolutions. And instead we're gonna be like, no, laziness all the way. So I'm really excited to read with her. Question 10, tag your buddies. Okay, so here is where I want to make this a shout out video as well as a tag. So I'm gonna tag and shout out, because I want you guys to all check out these channels, all of the booktubers who are still active that I have buddy read this year. So I do have some people that I've buddy read with this year who are not active anymore on their channels, or who don't even have booktube channels, just people who are commenters or Goodreads friends. And I definitely have really enjoyed and value those buddy reads as well. But since I wanted to do some shout outs, I'm just going to talk about the active booktubers. And for everybody who's tagged, if you feel like doing this, go for it. And if you don't feel like doing it, that's totally fine. I tend to not do that many tags myself. So let me tell you about all of the booktubers who I have buddy read with that I love, and I really hope you'll check out too. So going alphabetically by channel name, first is Anna Marie at Actual Spinster. Anna Marie is just wonderful. I love the way that they focus on a lot of especially Victorian and kind of turn of the century literature, looking really through a queer lens. They do amazing analyses of books, and just they're such a wonderful person. They also focus a lot on disability and illness and care, and I could listen to them analyze books forever. Kazen at Always Doing is a channel that I also adore watching. She is somebody who really focuses a lot on romance as well as nonfiction and tons of other things, especially social justice. Kazen reads a ton of queer romance too, which is really nice. I get so many different recommendations from her, and she is a medical interpreter in Japan, so she reads a ton of things that are related to kind of the medical practice, especially a lot of nonfiction, memoirs, things like that. And I really love hearing about what she's reading. She really also just has a lot of interest in kind of very niche and unique things. Plus she does great vlogs. So I love not just watching Kazen, but also talking to her. Cynthia at Book Whimsy, who is kind of my meeting of minds booktube buddy reading partner, is amazing. So Cynthia is actually a historian, and I love the way that she talks about things. So a lot of the reading that she does is just for fun. She reads a ton of things like urban fantasy or, you know, contemporary romance, or all sorts of things that are just fun and joyful reads, but she also reads a lot of really interesting and academic works. So if you go to her channel, you'll see her talk about a lot of historical analyses or just history books that are about really fascinating pieces of time. She especially focuses on a lot of things regarding kind of women's bodies and abortion rights and all of these things. And she also sometimes reads kind of classics and has interesting takes on them. Every time I hear Cynthia talk, I just want to hear more of what she has to say, so I love her channel. Christina at Bookworm Dreams is half of the Bookworm Dreams duo. So Christina and her friend Maya run a channel together. They are Croatian booktubers, and they are just so fun to watch. I love it. Christina especially just has such a sweet personality. Maya has one that is very no nonsense. I love both of them. They read a ton of things like paranormal romance and urban fantasy and all sorts of things like that, but also a ton of SFF. And Christina likes middle grade, so we have been interested in reading middle grade together, but also some SFF. I just love watching her because she makes me smile. Ashley at Don't Have a Degree in Reading, who is somebody that I love buddy reading with because she has two things that I love. She both really likes to read nonfiction about social justice, as well as likes to read fantasy that is inspired by kind of non-Western traditions. And so we have buddy read in kind of both of those genres before. She just has really interesting reading taste, and her love of epic fantasy is awesome. So we definitely have a lot of conversations about fantasy and just the way that she thinks about things and the way that she's constantly looking to grow. And on her channel, she is so funny. I am not a person who is able to express my humor in my booktube videos. I think I come off as very somber when in reality I'm a lot more kind of joking around, but Ashley does such a good job of, in her videos, showing how funny she is. So she really makes me laugh. Rachel Kalanadi, who is one of my oldest BookTube friends. Rachel is somebody whose reading is just fantastic. I love the way that Rachel reads because Rachel will read everything. You talk about like an omnivore reader, and that's Rachel. She is huge into SFF, so she reads a lot of the new releases as well as a bunch of the classic works. Her channel is actually nominated for a Hugo Award this year for Best Fan Cast, which I think should be kind of being decided right about now. And she's just fantastic in terms of SFF, but she reads everything else too. She reads social justice nonfiction, she reads history, she reads nonfiction about like arts and crafts and fiber, she reads romance, she reads all sorts of things, and children's books. I love watching Rachel because not only do I really respect her opinion and I like to hear what she has to say, but she picks up the most interesting things. And she's very, very crafty, and so a lot of the times, you know, she'll have videos talking about what she has knitted or the fiber that she has dyed or about her garden or her baking. So she's just such a cool person, and I really love watching her channel. Kristen Kristinelle SFF Reader. Kristen is somebody who I just have so many conversations with because we're both really interested in new release SFF. Kristen is somebody who has very much got her finger on the pulse of SFF. She's paying attention to what is being published. She is reading all of these things as soon as they come out. I'm so impressed by how she's able to keep up with it. And she's also just participating in a lot of the discussions of what's going on in the genre. So if you're somebody who likes kind of following what's going on in SFF, I definitely really recommend her channel. I'm constantly hearing about new releases that I also want to pick up from her and getting her review first. Angela at Literature Science Alliance. Angela is also somebody who very much is reading a ton of new SFF, but also a lot of backlist SFF too. Angela reads a lot of these, you know, huge fantasy series, but as well as kind of lesser known sci-fi series too. She reads a lot of kind of people from different backgrounds and really focuses on having a wide variety, I think, in what she picks up. And because she is a scientist, almost finishing up her PhD as we speak, she also just has a really cool kind of view on things. And sometimes she does science behind the magic videos, which are super, super cool. Just kind of a scientific breakdown of some of the things that are happening in SFF books. I think that she's very, very smart. I also love buddy reading short story anthologies with her. She kind of tries to read an anthology once a month, which is really impressive. I kind of want that to be my goal too, but I'm not always so great about it. And she is just a voracious reader. She does weekly check-ins like I do. I just love watching Angela's channel, and she's just such a smart and fun person. Michelle at Michelle Lexi. Michelle is an Australian booktuber who reads both SFF as well as a ton of nonfiction. She really loves nonfiction, especially about kind of nature as well as science, as well as a lot of stuff related to social justice. She's really, really passionate about kind of ecology as well as about really human rights. And I love the way that she does not hold back when talking about kind of what she values and what she thinks, and tearing down things that she doesn't like, and talking about just her opinions. She's really a wonderful person to listen to. Also, she has lizards, which is cool, and she is doing a Vlogmas this year, so lots of content if you're interested in checking her out. And she reads a lot of science fiction, and I just really like hearing what she has to say and the kind of thoughtful way that she processes everything. Alicia at Pretty Brown Eyed Reader is somebody that I go to for both poetry and blacklit. Alicia reads a ton of poetry. She's somebody who really embraces it and is happy to analyze it and look at it. She reads a ton of different poetry collections, and every April she'll have like a whole series of poetry readings on her channel. I love that, especially because poetry is something that I want to read more of, but I don't necessarily feel that comfortable with myself. I just love hearing hearing what she has to say. And she reads a ton of Black lit, both contemporary as well as kind of the classics, you know, like Toni Morrison, things like that. And I get just a ton of recommendations, especially from her. She's a little bit more active on posting on Goodreads, but she does do especially poetry content on her BookTube channel, and I just get a lot out of it. Becca at Read Becca, who is somebody that I have followed for years on Goodreads because she reads the coolest things and I would always get the best recommendations from her. And then she created a BookTube channel this year and I am just in love. I really adore Becca's channel because not only is she posting some amazing content, she is just really on fire when it comes to posting check-ins and participating in readathons and doing tags and coming up with all kinds of really neat and creative things for her channel. And I just love hearing her talk. She's also kind of an omnivore when it comes to reading, where she reads everything under the sun, and she reads just such fascinating stuff. Again, a huge SFF reader, but also tons of nonfiction. She reads a bunch of picture books, which makes my heart happy because I'm always looking for picture book recommendations. She reads indie published things. She reads romance. She reads so many cool things, and memoirs. She's read a couple memoirs recently too that sound interesting. I just love hearing both just what Becca is doing in her life as well as about all of the different books that she's reading. So yeah, especially if you want to support a newer booktuber, check out Becca's channel. I think she's wonderful. Jen at Remembered Reads. Jen is somebody who has such interesting reading taste. She's probably the person who reads the most differently from me, but I think she probably reads the most differently from most people. She has really kind of niche interests. So Jen is somebody who reads kind of a lot of different things, but especially I would say nonfiction. She reads a lot of nonfiction that is about war and about like Eastern Europe and things like that. But she also reads a bunch of poetry and a bunch of comics. She reads quite a bit of graphic works, many of which are nonfiction. And the number of recommendations that I find out about from her channel that I've never heard about from anybody else is really high. So if you're interested in checking somebody who's not reading kind of the BookTube staples, really check out Jen's channel. And she's just so smart, and I love listening to her talk. She's really calm, and I really like listening to her channel. Freddie at Sluggish Reader. Freddie is somebody that I kind of have to stop myself from scheduling a buddy read with every month because I love Freddie. I love talking with Freddie. Freddie is just such a funny and chill person. He is a Malaysian booktuber, and he reads a lot of kind of, I would say, literary or contemporary fiction, especially things that are family dramas. He reads a lot of works, especially by women or about women, lots of translated works, lots of East Asian works. He reads so many cool things. Again, somebody who maybe doesn't have like the hugest overlap in terms of like what books we pick up, but I love reading with Freddie because he always has interesting thoughts. I think he's also just really good at analyzing books and very good with literary things as well. And he's just really funny. He has this kind of dry sense of humor that super works for me. And he's picking up a bunch of backlist books, especially. He doesn't read as many new things, but lots of backlist stuff. So Freddie makes me happy, and he reads cool things, and I just love hearing his opinions on things. Reija at the Bookfinch, who is a Finnish booktuber that reads really a lot of different things, but I would say especially reads a lot of SFF and manga and queer lit and graphic works, and also a lot of social justice nonfiction too. They have been reading, like, even while the rest of us are just kind of suffering under a lot of the stuff that has happened the past couple of years and wanting comfort reads, they've been really pushing themselves to read a lot of very good social nonfiction, but they are the person that is my go-to for manga recommendations. They read things that I've never heard about or just really convince me that I want to pick up different manga, and they're an artist as well as somebody in tech, and so they have really such a good kind of diverse set of interests that they bring to the way that they think about things. And they're running a shorts and sorcery book club, which is all about reading short story collections in SFF, which I think is awesome too. So really such a cool person to follow. And lastly, Tori at Tori Morrow. Tori is just one of my favorite people. She makes me so happy. Tori reads a bunch of, especially SFF, and I would say in particular science fiction. She reads a lot of new releases as well as a lot of backlist, and she's somebody that I just really trust her opinion, and I'd like to hear what she thinks of all of the different books that she picks up. She's somebody who also does a lot of interesting videos, you know, recommendation lists and things like that, and every time one of her videos pops up on my feed, I'm just excited to read it. And she's another person that I constantly want to schedule buddy reads with because I really enjoy chatting with her. And even sometimes we have like pretty different opinions, but it's so fun to hear each other and like do mini rants about things. She is just definitely a go-to person if you like SFF, and also just if you want to listen to somebody who's just a really cool person. She's really chill and calm in her videos, but also has very strong opinions. I love Tori's channel. Okay, so that wraps up all of my answers to this tag and all of my shout outs of the many different wonderful booktubers that I have buddy read with this year. If you guys have any different answers to the questions from the tag, or if you want to tell me about any of your favorite booktube channels, or if you have checked out these channels, or if you love them too, or you want to check them out, just leave me a comment down below.